Good morning, colleagues. I am here today to introduce to you Marzano's instructional strategies and talk with you a little bit about how we can implement them into our classrooms. First off, Marzano has 9 instructional strategies, identifying similarities and differences, summarizing and note-taking, reinforcing effort and providing feedback, homework and practice, questions, cues, and organizers, non-linguistic representation, cooperative learning, setting objectives and providing feedback, and finally, generating and testing hypothesis. Depending on what your curriculum is, some of these may work better. For example, things like generating and testing hypothesis, perfect for something in science. I'm going to focus on 4 of these today, not all 9, just 4 that we can look to implement in the next year or two. And hopefully we can collectively get on board and get this moving together. I'm going to be implementing these into my 9th grade civics class, and these are going to be going into our curriculum in each and every unit, and this base of skills will be used to add more of these strategies as students go up the levels, so then we can just continue adding layers to their educational skill set. So by the time that they graduate high school, they will be fully operational, more or less, in terms of all of these different types of skills that they have in their back pocket. So how do we make this happen? Obviously, implementing 9 skills at once is going to be a little bit different in 9 strategies. So we're going to do this gradually, add 1 or 2 new strategies each trimester, and as they master that one strategy, we can add the second one and build upon that. Obviously, ideally, we can revisit these previously taught strategies. Just because we've mastered it, moved on, doesn't mean we walk away from it. We use that, it kind of just becomes another tool in their belt and in their toolbox that they can use to move their education forward. So the process is to add 1 new strategy in the first trimester, add a second strategy in the second trimester, and then since we're on a 3-trimester system, use the 3rd trimester to simultaneously use both of these for the kids. And then when they come back in the fall, they will have those 2 ready to roll, and we can add the 3rd in the first trimester of the second year and the 4th in the second trimester of the second year. So after 2 years, they will have fully operational 4 of these strategies. Using our morning PLC time on Wednesdays is the way that we're going to roll this out. And we can talk about what is working and what is not working. That hour and a half that we get to work on Wednesday mornings collectively inside of our common teaching groups is key. So the first strategy we're talking about here is called cooperative learning, where students are grouped together. And at the start of the school year, they can be put together randomly. It doesn't really matter where they end up at the start. We don't know these kids much yet. But as the school year moves on, every week or 2, we can adjust these groups, putting strong readers with weaker readers, putting maybe go-getters and leaders inside of groups that have a little bit more shy or quiet kids, trying to avoid putting 2 big leaders together for those clashes. So there's a lot of things you can do to do this and make it work. And also inside of that, each week you can assign roles. 1 student can be the leader for the week. Another student can be the recorder, or 1 can be the reporter that's going to report to the class every time that something needs to be talked about in front of the class. So we can have a student assigned for that. The group is going to benefit from the varying skill sets of the students that are in the group. And ideally, that sort of 3 or 4 kids together, collectively placed in that group, are going to build a stronger force together than they would be individually. The second strategy is identifying similarities and differences, and this is used to help students better understand relationships and ideas. In social studies and civics in particular, we talk a lot of government and different types of political parties. You can see here the Venn diagram I have up is a great way to look at what political parties believe, that only one of them believes, that more of them believe, and then what they all believe. It's a great way for these sort of visual learners to physically see the differences rather than just trying to extract it from the written information. The third, non-linguistic representation. Knowledge is learned in 2 ways. Linguistic, meaning we're either hearing it or we are reading it. The second way is non-linguistic, by using visual representation to show knowledge. So one of the things that I've done in class is I ask students to take notes and pictures. I require them to take picture notes, not word notes some days. An example of this, if you can see this picture on the screen here, is just visually seems to represent ideas and the way things move. There are some words on there, but the words are quick, short phrases. One of them that I've done in class and continue to do is having students create 10 comic panels on a giant sheet of paper, one for each of the first 10 amendments, showing me visually that they understand each of those amendments rather than verbally showing me. The fourth strategy, summarizing and note taking. This is a great way for kids to digest pretty complex material. Teaches them, first off, would be fill in the blank notes. I often use fill in the blank notes where I have chunks of the material missing. So as the notes come up across the board, students are filling in, but it also shows them exactly what quality notes look like. They're essentially getting my notes, filling in pieces, and then as we go forward, I pull more and more and more of that scaffolding away so that by the end of the year, they can do more on their own. Another one I love to use is called 17-word summaries. They read a piece, for example, the Declaration of Independence, and they have a few minutes to write a summary of it using only and exactly 17 words. No more, no less, exactly 17 words. I'm not real concerned if they actually hit the 17 words as long as they're close to it. It's not a big deal. But my whole point is trying to get kids to summarize, which is a learned skill. It's how do we take something massive and digest it and break it down to its biggest, most important ideas. If you do have any questions, please feel free to contact me. I've got my district email up um, on this presentation here. Also, just pop in my room. I'd be happy to chat with you, or catch me in the hallway. We can chat about some of this. More than happy to contact you and chat with you guys. So if you do have any questions, please let me know. Reference page here, nothing big, pretty straightforward on Marzano since he's the guy that we're using quite a bit. And thank you for your time today. That is the end of this presentation.